All right, so we start off tonight. We're going to get into, as you saw in the thumbnail, we're going to get into some stuff about the coronation of the king and a lot of things that you're not hearing on the news. We're not going, in the big picture, we're not going to just cover, hey, we got a new king. We're going to talk about what this is really going to mean.
We're going to do the deep dive.
We're going to do the deep dive. But before we do that, we got to have some fringe news here tonight. Our first thing up, by the way, shout out to Ricky Scaparo, our good friend at End Time Headlines. Yes. He is just an amazing man of God that brings so much information. If you do not already follow endtimeheadlines.org.
He must not sleep.
I don't think he does. I mean, he's a one-man show, too. I mean, he ain't got these bots working for him. Nope. He is just bringing all this news together. And this is from endtimeheadlines.org. Make sure you go to that. First up, Sandy, the FDA, this is such good news. I mean, we're going to start.
Please do not tell me that they're going to mess with my bacon.
They're messing with your bacon.
Stop it.
They're messing with your bacon. The FDA.
It's nothing sacred.
Nothing sacred. And if there's anything that's sacred in the New Testament, think about if you don't think we got a better covenant based on better promises.
I know.
Jesus, when he said it is finished, he gave us bacon. Okay.
What a gift, right?
He gave us bacon.
Gift.
I mean, that's enough to just follow the new covenant by itself.
Yeah, and that's why I'm really mad. Okay.
Yes, they're trying to mess up the new covenant.
Away from bacon.
Stay away. The FDA has just approved gene-edited pigs.
That's going to be awesome.
For human consumption. The United States Food and Drug Administration has authorized gene-edited pigs' entrance into the food chain for human consumption as German-style sausages. Oh, my God.
What?
Gene editing can make changes in organisms' DNA that can occur in nature and through selective breeding, but would take longer without a tool like CRISPR. According to NextGov, the FDA authorization is investigational and limited to these particular pigs. But we always know that that's all they're going to do. It's never going to go to all pigs. No way. Yeah. But shows that gene editing livestock to quickly produce desirable traits from improved food production, blah, 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 blah. All it really means is they're trying to get that mRNA, all kinds of stuff, any way they can. They're trying to get it in us.
Do you realize when the CRISPR-Cas9 first became available, they were allowing individuals to buy kits. They were less than $1,000. And you're talking about
individuals could buy CRISPR? Certain
individuals could buy. I'm sure that, I hope that's been shut down by now. But you're talking about your basement scientists, your garage scientists. You know, they're doing crazy things like trying to make glow-in-the-dark beer and trying to do all kinds of things. Some of them were even trying to improve their own eyesight, weird things. And I have my own theory about that. I think, this is my guess, I just thought that the government or the corporations, whoever, were giving a leash to see how far the individual could go. What could they come up with? Then they could take it and improve upon it and perfect it. But they have to have this CRISPR-Cas9, which is the gene editing ability, the tools to do all of this gene editing. But I'm mad. Why do they have to mess with bacon?
Leave the bacon alone. Devil, I rebuke you right now.
In the name of Jesus.
In the name of Jesus, get your hands off my bacon. Right. Hey, we're being funny, but that's serious.
No, I'm not being funny.
Serious.
Yeah.
That's serious stuff.
I'm really mad.
It's really serious. You know, and we're going to hit one more item, and then we're going to jump into the king and all that stuff that we got to tell you about the king tonight. How does it seem to always come out of Switzerland?
It's amazing.
If you have not watched my video yet,
these people never sleep in Switzerland. They're always up to something.
But Sandy, it's just a beautiful snow-capped mountain ski lodge.
That's right. All the chalets.
If you have not watched my video that's on my channel, that's called Demon Portals. It's about demon portals, and it's got you'll see it. I can't ever even remember the name of my own video. But just search for it and you'll see, is this place a demon portal? It is a breakdown of the nation of Switzerland that is mind-boggling. Look what else is happening in Switzerland.
This is lovely.
Switzerland, of course we know Switzerland is where Davos is, which is where the World Economic Forum is, and where Klaus Schwab. And that's why, you know, they make a play on Z-bugs. We talk a lot about eat these Z-bugs because that's what Klaus Schwab, the head of the World Economic Forum, said. You need to eat these bugs. Switzerland wants to socially engineer children to eat the bugs and less meat. To socially engineer children. They are young, more open to novelty. At some point, if not tomorrow, then later, they will include insects in their diet. In this land of cheese and chocolate, children are being schooled in the more subtle pleasures of eating mealworms, locusts, and crickets. On a recent morning, students at a middle school outside Zurich, Switzerland, gathered around a table laden with snacks made of insects. They quickly scooped up spiced mealworms, crickets dusted with paprika, and crackers made with flour with ground up crickets. It doesn't taste like a bug, said Anna Munoz, 13, and as she nibbled on a cricket. It just tastes like it's seasoned with. And then she ate chili peppered mealworms and made a face. Okay, this is a real little quick thing, and then we're going to get into the real news of the day. But I just want you to know that while we're being distracted by all this other stuff around us, this narrative that people make fun of and say, oh, stop it with the fear-mongering, stop it with the eating bugs, nobody's ever going to make us stop eating meat. They absolutely are.
Well, we talked several weeks ago. Did you not read part of an article? Probably Yuval Noah Harari was saying, you'll only eat meat on special occasions.
That was a video, an official video put out by the World Economic Forum about by certain year you will own nothing. What was that, 2030? Or by 2030, I think.
2030, I believe.
And you'll own nothing and be happy about it. And in that same video, it says by then you'll be glad about the fact that you'll only eat meat on certain occasions.
So this article talks about bugs and lab-grown meat.
Yeah, that's right. Already.
That's now.
And they're messing with bacon. Don't forget.
Yeah. So
and that's right now. So what's coming? If that's right now, what's coming?
First of all, this is gross, but it's also infuriating that these puppet masters of the world, these elitists, fully are implementing and expect us to eat bugs while they sit and laugh at us eating these things.
Yeah. Now, here's why I want to talk about King Charles, because King Charles, much of what we're going to show you, a lot of it was when he was Prince Charles. But now he's been officially coronated as the king. In fact, we have never seen this. We have never seen a coronation.
Many people have never seen a coronation.
I would dare say most everyone on the world never has, because it's been 70 years since, and it was.
How new was the televising of his mother's coronation? A queen, not a king.
Well, it was the first
70 years ago.
It was the first ever limited television.
How many people really got to see that? Though? That was
so absolutely. So, but I want to tell you something about King Charles. First of all, I'm going to let this play in the background while we're talking about this, because this is what
is this the Abbey?
This is what happened this week. This is like a 2-minute version of all a summary of what happened, the pomp and circumstance of all this about this one dude. In our world that we live in now, it just seems so weird that this is still a thing. Because, especially for Americans now, if you're in England, you're mad at me right now because you're like, what do you mean this is a thing? This is our culture. I get it. But in America, we just don't get it because...
Well, they know they put on the dog better than anybody, and they're so proud of that.
Yeah.
Was it the Stagecoach he was in?
Yeah.
Weighed 8,000 pounds.
Yeah.
It's just
laden
ridiculous.
Laden with gold. And at the back of this, I don't know if you can see it, but in the back of this picture where he's at right now, he's kissing the Bible because he's such a great Christian. We'll get to that in a minute. But he goes inside a tent that they've made where they do the coronation process. And did
they call it a canopy?
It was a canopy, yes.
They call it a canopy.
A canopy. And this right here, he's putting on the ring. This is all, just ritual. Then, of course, the priest. And keep in mind now, what you're watching is all this is being done by people of the Church of England, the Anglican Church. And if you know your history, this church was started. It was a church, a religion started so that the king could, live in adultery.
Was it Henry VIII?
I'm not sure on that, but that was formed on that. Okay. But, now he's got his crown on and all of this. And so and now she gets her crown. She looks so happy, don't she? I was just noticing this. She just does not look
well,
happy.
she was looking at that dude. She was giving him some stink eye. You better not mess my hair up. Is what she was trying to.
Oh, but when they get
him to understand.
When they get to the canopy, it's blocked off for the public to see.
Right.
So the priest.
Okay. Well, let's before you say that.
Okay.
His mother also had to go under the canopy.
Right.
But in front of a large audience of people.
Yeah.
But it was open on all sides.
Listen to this.
Open on all sides.
Okay. It was open.
But for King Charles,
Yep.
he had a special request / demand, I guess, that what would happen for him?
He would be closed in, and the only one that could see him was the preacher, the priest, whatever that was going in. So you don't see the hands being laid on. You did not get a chance to hear the words that was being spoken.
We don't know really exactly what happened.
No, we don't.
Under that canopy.
We don't know what happened under that canopy.
No one was allowed to
We
see.
don't know what kind of ritualistic thing that happened. Because here's the thing about King Charles that is really, you start going down a rabbit hole, is it is believed, and many people have proven this. You can find this on YouTube. I'm not going to talk about it tonight other than to tell you that you can search for it, that they are direct descendants of the Prophet Muhammad. And for the first time, even though Jesus was spoken and even though Christianity was at the forefront of all of this.
Now let's be clear. This is through his mother's lineage.
Through his mother's lineage.
Not his father's.
Not his father's.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother thing to go down there. But we want to talk about that the fact that King Charles's coronation is being promoted all over YouTube and around the world as a Christian thing. For the first time in the history of the crown, there were people from every religion and even atheists performing and saying the ritual.
And he's not mum about that.
No.
He was quoted as saying he is concerned for all religions.
For all religions.
That's not an exact quote, but something to that.
He said he wanted to be a defender of faith.
Of faith.
Not of Christianity, of any kind of faith. And then he went on to say, or no faith. So we understand that. We understand freedom of religion. We're not here to say that we want to force that on anybody. When everybody, you can believe what you want to believe. But when the narrative is being perpetuated that this is a Christian coronation service, let me just tell you something. It's not. It's not anymore.
And if green gospel and environmentalist,
exactly.
He has been this pretty much his entire life. At least all of his adult life, he has had such an emphasis on the environment and the green gospel. This is not new for him.
Okay, so let's go there. King Charles and the Globalist. This was an article that came out just a few weeks ago that I saved because I knew when the coronation happened. I wanted to show this on the night of the coronation. This article actually came out about a week and a half before the coronation. King Charles and the Globalists of the World Economic Forum officially have set a meeting for September. I want you to see this. This is one of the first things that he did on his agenda. Set a meeting in September that they will plot together with the World Economic Forum on how to accelerate what we talk about almost every week on here, the United Nations Agenda of 2030.
But let's stop right there.
And the complete digitation of humanity.
So we'll get right back to this, but did we not talk last week about a very important meeting that is going to happen in August concerning just the economy, just currency.
Just the economy and currency.
Mainly BRICS is what it was about.
Yep.
So now we got a big powwow in August, and we got a major important meeting coming up in September. What are we in store for? What is getting ready to happen?
So listen to what this meeting is about. The World Economic Forum and the United Nations are so concerned that the goals of Agenda 2030 Sustainable Development and the Great Reset. And by the way, we just got flagged because you cannot say the Great Reset.
Wow, that's a record even for you, I believe.
We just got flagged. I can tell you right now we just got flagged. In fact, if you put the Great Reset in your title, it automatically generates a blue fact check below it saying...
Are you sure you want to do this? Is that what it says?
No, it says The Great Reset is not a conspiracy theory, and it tells you that it's really the greatest thing
I think
that's ever
we're going to be
existed.
breaking that down further later, aren't we, tonight?
Exactly. So, we're just going all in. That's why I threw the Rumble thing up there, just to make sure.
We've thrown down that gauntlet, baby.
We've thrown it down, baby. All right. Thank you to everybody that's watching right now. If you have not smashed that like button, now do that now and help us. Nothing helps us be seen in the eyes of people that don't know about our channel more than that like button. The World Economic Forum and United Nations are so concerned that the goals of Agenda 2030 are not happening fast enough and are in jeopardy of not being fulfilled by the appointed date that they have called for a summit in September to discuss how they can kickstart their stalled totalitarian
I didn't realize it was stalled, did you?
No, it don't feel stalled to me.
Feels like they're steamrolling straight ahead.
It doesn't feel stalled. But look, it's on September 18th and 19th, and it's going to be in New York. And we'll, quote, mark the beginning. Listen to the wording here. Mark the beginning of a new phase of accelerated progress towards the Sustainable Development Goals, otherwise known as Agenda 2030. So listen, we've been warning you, and we've been telling you, in order for them to get where they want to get, and they're determined they're going to get there, it's about to go in breakneck speed. And now they're openly saying, we're going to meet in the fall of this year to devise a way to go into turbo speed.
I want to touch on one thing before we leave this article. This article in the next paragraph goes on to say that Henry Kissinger was the mentor of Klaus Schwab.
Yep. I'm gonna throw
So
that up there
we
while
all
you're
know
talking
the
about it.
name Henry Kissinger.
Right there.
Now, he's probably quite a few years older than Klaus Schwab, who is between like 80 and 85 years old. But, if you think there's so much purity and, idea that there wasn't any bad guys in our country, this man, Henry Kissinger, who is so entrenched in our country, our government, contact with our presidents and other leaders, is the person who was mentoring Klaus Schwab.
Yep. Sure
It's
was.
sickening.
Sure was. And let me tell you, that dude Kissinger, he's in every secret society known to man, and it's unbelievable the things that he's got his hands on that he has done around the world. And as you said, he's the papa of Klaus Schwab, and Klaus Schwab is now, we have made a statement on here, and I'll say it again, the most powerful man in the world.
And there you see, WEF founded 1971.
Yep.
Long game.
Long game. They've been playing this long game.
Doing this long time.
Dude, we just now finding out about Klaus Schwab, but like you just said, he's been working behind the scenes since 1971, and Henry Kissinger was working before that.
Yes.
So still staying on King Charles, let me just show you why King Charles is so important. This is, if you'll notice here, on the actual, you can barely see it because of the way my app is doing, but you can see at the top where it says World Economic Forum. Right. This is on the worldeconomicforum.org, weforum.org. This is their website, and it is under the heading of YUAN. You see that? COVID, I said it, Matt. YUAN 19. Okay, my God, I might as well not even worry about it. Okay, at this point. This is under their heading. Yep. Now notice the date here. June 3rd, 2020.
Almost 3 years ago.
Almost 3 years.
His Royal Highness, the Prince of Wales, and other leaders on the forum's great
reset. Go ahead and say it. Just go ahead and say it.
I was going to be good.
You're gonna be, well,
you just continue to be bad.
You didn't say wah. You got to say the wah for all this stuff. That's how our people know what we're talking about. Our people. We love our people.
Love you, people.
So let's read this again.
You are peeps.
Read this for me, babe. Come on.
A golden opportunity. HRH, His Royal Highness, the Prince of Wales, and other leaders on the forum's Great Reset.
Okay, so June 3rd, 2020, watch this. It says, quote, there is a golden opportunity. What happened in 2020? Okay, by the time we got to June, were we not in a global wah?
Yes.
Okay, so while we're in the middle of this global wah, there is a global opportunity to seize something good from this crisis. Global crisis knows no borders, and highlight how interdependent we are as one people sharing one planet. Speaking at the launch of the forum's Great Wah on Wednesday, those were the words of His Royal Highness, the Prince of Wales, what I just read, the golden opportunity. of humanity's chance to craft a more sustainable and equitable world in the wake of the wah.
Well, if you're an evil puppet master controller of the world, you would be so excited about that, seizing an opportunity, right?
Read that line right there. This is what he said on June 2020. Read that.
He added, unless we take the action necessary and build in a greener and more inclusive and sustainable way, then we will have more and more pandemics. Fear.
Wah. That's right. But look, this is the Prince of Wales 3 years ago.
Case we have no alternative, because otherwise, unless we take the action necessary and we build again in a greener and more sustainable and more inclusive way, then we will end up having more and more pandemics and more disasters from ever accelerating global warming and climate change. So this is the one moment, as you've all been saying, when we have to make as much progress as we can.
Look how they use the certainty of future wahs to instill fear into the hearts and minds of people. Obviously, we fell for it.
And he even said, you probably didn't catch, he even said, if we don't go to a greener society, we will have more wah-wahs.
Yeah. Yeah, if you don't stop it with your emissions and your wasting out there, you're going to make more pandemics come.
Let the hits keep coming. Watch this. This is also the World Economic Forum's website. This is a video. Watch this. Or listen to this. Prince Charles says we need a global...
I've been deeply encouraged by the positive response.
Why are his cheeks always so red?
Received from around the world, inspired by the Great Reset's call to action. And this is why I called for a Marshall-like plan for nature, people, and planet.
Do we understand what a Marshall Plan is? A Marshall Plan is a global agreement to rebuild, almost like what came out of the war effort. The Marshall Plan to rebuild. Watch what he says. The plan has 6 core levels to accelerate progress.
I've got all these written down.
All right.
So number one.
I'm going to let it play while you read it.
Okay. It's really fast, so I won't be able to hardly keep up with this. Implementing effective and equitable carbon pricing. This is to accelerate and decarbonization to change your behavior. Scaling up development and implementation of carbon capture, use, and storage. Number 3, I'm going to go ahead and skip to that. Establishing a credible and trusted global carbon offset market. Number 4, tackling subsidies for fossil fuels to transform the lives and livelihoods of millions around the world. Number 5, creating a recognized global ecosystem service market. This is to incentivize farmers and fishermen to increase organic carbon. And then number 6, we want to advance sustainable urbanism to tackle rapid urbanization while improving the urban-rural balance.
Approach. You need everybody in the measure. That's the metrics and the measuring stakeholder capitalism. But importantly, we need collective action. And the collective action has to be all these great private companies working together to create solutions that could only scale with lots of participants.
Wow. Klaus Schwab agrees.
Thank God.
My wish is that we are not deviated in our efforts, even if Corona and COVID-19 may still with us for some time. But now it's really the moment and the window of opportunity to reset the world, to make it more sustainable, more resilient, and more inclusive.
You only make statements like that when you're convinced you have the power to do so, right?
Yep. He clearly just said in the middle of all this, and by the way, what we're getting at is the person that introduced the words "the Great Reset" to the world from the World Economic Forum was not Klaus Schwab. It was not Yuval Harari. It was His Royal Highness Prince William, now King William. He was.
No.
What did I say?
He said William, now King.
I'm sorry.
I know.
King Charles. King Charles. I'm thinking about the boy. Yeah. King Charles. King Charles was the one that introduced the words "the Great Reset" to the world. He stood at the platform, and the first time the World Economic Forum ever uttered those words, it came out of the mouth of what is now the King of England. Because I want to show you this article right here, and we're not going to spend a lot of time on this, but this is powerful. This is a man who is in the government in the UK. Lord Monckton is his name. And he came out and said...
Is he a whistleblower type?
He is, and he's still in the government. And they didn't allow him to come to the coronation.
Well, I hope he's got a dead man switch because...
and I think he made it clear that he's not suicidal. But watch what it says. Great Reset King Charles wants to depopulate the world. Mm-hmm. He goes on, Lord Christopher Walton Monckton has warned that King Charles III's goal is to depopulate the world on behalf of the global elites. According to Lord Monckton, the main purpose of Charles' reign is to help usher in the World Economic Forum's Great Reset agenda, in which billions of people, I'm not going to read exactly what they say, is going to end on this earth. And it says, and of course he talks about how he didn't receive an invitation to it. and so these are the people that, they're getting in trouble. They're in trouble, y'all, because they're not supposed to say the quiet thing out loud, but they are saying the quiet thing out loud.
Who's going to come and slap them on the hand, though?
Yeah. So here's what we got to say, Sandy, before we go on. And thank you to everybody that's still with us. We got a great crowd on here tonight. We appreciate you guys staying with us because we're giving you news that you're not getting anywhere else. You are here. You're seeing the crown go on the head. You're seeing the pomp, but nobody's talking about what this really means. And for those that follow Paul Begley, you know a man by the name of Mike from Around the World. And one of the things that Mike from Around the World has said for a long time before he ever became, when the Queen was still alive, he would say that there are things in the reign of the monarchy.
There's certain things that only a king
can do. Yeah. And she was there for 70 years as a queen? For 70 years as a queen, a lot of this stuff was being held back. And he knew that when he became king, he had authority that a queen does not have. And he began to he's going to begin to quickly help accelerate this. Of course, he is now part of this meeting that's coming up this fall.
You have to know that they must have been absolutely giddy on the day of his coronation.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Not that he wasn't already in that office, but now they can be in lockstep.
Yeah,
with what they want to do with the World Economic Forum, with him as the monarchy. It's ridiculous.
So to sum up our coverage tonight of the King, a lot of people are wondering, what is this Great Reset? So it might be shocking that some people might not never even heard of it. But it is a book that was written by Klaus Schwab, and it's literally called, and I'm just going to go ahead and take a chance of getting really flagged right now because I want y'all to know what it was called. He wrote a book at the beginning of the YUAN called The Great Reset COVID-19. And he called that the Great Reset. This is the opportunity for the Great Reset. Now, if you go to Wikipedia, which is what this is, Wikipedia it's a voice of the narrative, okay? You're not going to get what you get on the big picture. But I want you to show you just even what Wikipedia says when you look up what the Great Reset is. The Great Reset Initiative is an economic recovery plan. How convenient that they call it a nice, sweet little recovery plan. Drawn up by, this is from Wikipedia, drawn up by the World Economic Forum in a response to the YUAN. The project was launched in June 2020. We just showed you a video from June 2020 of a video featuring the then Prince of Wales, Charles, released to mark its launch. The initiative's stated aim was to facilitate rebuilding the global YUAN crisis in a way that prioritizes sustainable development. WEF Chief Executive Officer Klaus Schwab described 3 core components, goes on to talk about what they are, And then look at this paragraph. The Great Reset was to be the theme of the 2021 World Economic Forum Annual Summit in Davos, Switzerland. Due to the disruption of the YUAN, the summit was postponed to May 21 and again to 22. And then Davos 2022 theme was history at a turning point, and of course was dominated by the war in Ukraine. But everybody was talking about the Great Reset. And I want y'all to know, and the reason we're covering this is when that crown was set upon that king's head, as Sandy just said, the movers and shakers from behind the scenes in World Economic Forum, United Nations and all were like, this was our man that we chose to announce this initiative, and he was just a prince. Now he's a king. Ladies and gentlemen, it's about to go to another level.
It really looks and feels that way.
Yep. And while all that's going on, we can't forget
our friends
that we have to talk about every week, the Chinese friends. And we always want to say, we're not talking about the Chinese people. We're talking about the evil Chinese communist government regime is what we're talking about. But their plan is working hand in hand with all this. So while we got all this going on, we're forgetting about the dollar's crashing, banks are crashing, and look at this. The Chinese yuan has now replaced the U.S. dollar as the most used currency in China's foreign trade. What that means is we all know that China is the number one exporter in the world. Their products, cheap labor and all this, are bought by every country in the world, rich and poor. And before just this past administration that's in here right now, every other previous administration's policies has struck fear in the Chinese, and they did not want to do what they're doing now. And because of their aggressive policies, the U.S. dollar has always been the standard, Sandy, of trade around the world. The petro-U.S. dollar,
sure.
But that's gone.
When you're doing international trade, it was just easier. It was preferred. Go on down into this article to talk about other nations, and there's so many articles and so much news. I can't remember if it's this article that talks about other nations getting concerned
let's just read this part right here. The Chinese yuan, not the dollar, was the most used currency in China's international trade at the end of March.
Right, we're talking 5 weeks.
5 weeks.
5 weeks ago.
The yuan, or however you say that, yuan, was used in 48.84% of transactions. The dollar was in 46.7%.
So we're in decline.
So that Reuters has now calculated from data supplied by China's State Administration that the surge of the China yuan results in China's campaign to make its currency, also known as the renminbi, a rival to the U.S. dollar in cross-border trade. China saw the opportunity to promote its currency after Western allies rallied by the U.S., imposed trade sanctions on Russia to punish it for invading Ukraine. And while we're trying to, by proxy, fight a war, China saw an opportunity, ladies and gentlemen, and now they are going head forward.
Come on. They were always...
There it is right there, what you're talking about. A growing number? Is that what you're talking about?
I think so.
Read that.
A growing number of countries are now trading directly with China, accepting yuan and paying China in their own currencies without first converting to dollars as a standard of value, as reported. So obviously we've been talking about this for several weeks, but China was going to do this. Yep. This was their door. Yeah. That was a great door for them to walk through to really make this happen.
And then look here, we're just going to rapid fire through these. Malaysia. It seems like every week there's another country that we talk about has decided to make this choice. Now Malaysia, Prime Minister declares, quote, there's no reason for Malaysia to continue depending on the dollar. And Malaysia is another country that is boldly stating they want to circumvent and be rid of the U.S. dollar. Last month, Prime Minister Anwar went on a visit to China, disclosed that China is open to deliberations with Malaysia to establish an Asian monetary fund. When I had a meeting with President Xi Jinping, he immediately said, I refer to Anwar's proposal on the Asian monetary fund. Goes on and goes on and goes on. And then I want to hit one more, and I want to get your comment on this, Andy. Zimbabwe is now beginning to sell their gold-backed CBDC amidst inflationary measures Zimbabwe has announced it plans to introduce a gold-backed digital currency to serve as legal tender in the country on April 28th. So we see just hit after hit after hit.
So how old is this article?
This article just came out. This article's
today's
two
May
days ago.
8th.
2 days ago. It came out. This article came out
So they
today.
their currency, I guess the main currency that they did have was the Zim dollar, was what they referred to it. So now they're wanting to go to a gold-backed CBDC.
And leave the U.S. dollar. I mean, and once again, another
leave the
country.
dollar behind.
Yeah.
So like we talked about several weeks ago, those dollars will be coming back home.
Well, speaking of U.S. dollars, this is a big, big thing that we got to say. This guy right here, Clayton Morris, we really like him. We watch his stuff. But I want to show you just the beginning of a clip, and then we're going to show you some articles. We're not going to play all this. But this just came out. Notice the title of his article. In 55 days, everything changes for the U.S. dollar. Well, we've already been talking about all kinds of U.S. dollar changes, that people are going away from the U.S. dollar. But that's other countries. That's other countries around the world. But now I'm talking to the United States citizens. Because what I'm about to tell you right now, while all these countries are leaving the U.S. dollar and it's causing the U.S. dollar value to crash, our country, our Federal Reserve, is moving towards something that's going to change everything forever for all of us. And other countries are following suit. Listen to Clayton.
Wow, what a week. Holy smokes. Soon you'll be able to tell your kids about how the United States dollar was once the strongest currency in the world, and you were there to watch it all fall into ruin in the spring of 2023.
Are warning the collapse of another American bank could lead to a credit crunch and an economic slowdown.
As banks collapsed all around you, and how you had to pull your money out of your local banks and put it into gold and silver and real estate just to protect your family. How the president of Ukraine just met yesterday with BlackRock. Yes, the largest.
Does he wear anything besides sweatshirts?
I don't think so. That's got to be some kind of weird thing that somebody's telling him to do. But,
somebody buy him a tie.
But bless his heart, and look, he's always looking up to everyone too.
Yes.
Bless his heart. And that's no shot at short people. I was just, this guy right here just sort of creeps me out. But listen, in the middle of a war, he's already negotiated with the CEO of BlackRock, and now he's meeting again with BlackRock, the most powerful economic group in the world, on the precipice of what I'm about to show you.
Asset manager in the world, as this war has helped them add $9 trillion to their balance sheets. Yeah.
This war has helped BlackRock make $9 trillion more dollars through the war.
Yeah. BlackRock now owns over 30% of Ukraine. You don't think this was all planned? What a clown world we are living in. This weekend, gold hit a brand new record high. Yes, people.
So we're going to move on from Clayton here, but Sandy, what we're talking about and where we're going, where we're going with this next article, is that we are not talking about 2030 and what we're talking about right now. We are talking about in July.
55 days, which this was yesterday when they did
yesterday,
this video.
Yes.
So 54 days.
And what's happening in 54 days, what's happening in July.
With this and with FedNOW, all this, I think we probably need to talk about this more in the future, and just we need to digest this and process this and give everyone a chance to really, I need a chance to really grasp this and get my head around what all of it means.
So what we're doing tonight is we're doing exactly what you're saying. We're going to put our toe in the water. We're going to make sure everybody knows what's coming. And in coming episodes, we're going to really break this down. But you need to know now, because this, at the time of this recording, this is May.
Yes.
This is happening in the United States of America in July. Watch this.
The Chinese last month unveiled the world's first digital currency from a major power. Currency that would not be printed but would exist only in cyberspace on your phone, for example. Is the Fed working on a digital dollar?
We are actually evaluating that. Most major
This is the chairman of the Federal Reserve.
Countries are now looking at the possibility of having a digital currency and really asking the question.
Imagine a government that creates money that has an expiration date. And if you don't use it, it'll disappear. That's happening already with the digital yuan, and Americans are rightfully skeptical.
President Biden issued an executive order to explore the creation of a U.S. central bank digital currency.
This is happening.
Yeah.
This has already been approved by the president to explore a digital currency for our country, and this is the first step towards
effectively converting the dollar into a centralized digital currency.
The Federal Reserve just announced that it's about to show us its new digital payment system this year in July. This is having a huge ripple effect across the entire internet because the US dollar is in the process of being replaced by a central bank digital currency
called FedNOW. You're going to hear that. You're going to see the greatest commercials in the world about to come out. Listen that you heard it here first. You heard Larry Ragland say on the Big Picture Live, when you see these commercials, you're going to remember that I said this. You're going to see commercials that is going to show you from our Federal Reserve that it is the greatest
or
thing
a
that's
CBDC.
ever happened.
In fact, most countries around
Come on.
the world are creating their own right now.
What if I told you 90% now of the world's central banks say they're investigating central bank digital coins?
According to a
Did you notice the background of that lady? World Economic Forum.
report by Citi, by 2030, there will be up to $5 trillion digital dollars circulating the global economy. But there's a problem, because most Americans don't trust the government to do this. In the 1950s,
I wonder why.
For example, the era that was called the golden age of capitalism, when we had unprecedented economic growth and higher wages, a point in history far from perfect, but in 1958, Pew Research asked the American people if they trusted the US government to do what was in their best interest. And they did. That trust reached a peak of 77% by 1964. But over time, that trust has been gradually eroding, and today, that number has dropped all the way to 20. Only 1 out of 5 Americans trust the government to do this. And it's also why people like to use other forms of money like cash and even cryptocurrency. But right now, the government has their own idea for a CBDC, central bank digital currency. And this will have a huge consequence, not only on ideas like privacy, freedom, but even Bitcoin. So in today's video, I want to help explain exactly what this is.
So what we want to tell you, and we're going to keep this narrative going because we're going to help you tonight, is that the first step is FedNow. The first step is the digital currency.
We got to do it in steps because the people will panic if you try to do all this at once. But Bitcoin, that platform is already out there. Too bad the government couldn't adopt something like that. Oh, they can't do that because they can't control it. Yeah. Because when we get this digital coin, right, what's going to happen? It's going to be programmable and trackable, unlike Bitcoin.
Yeah. And see, that's the end. The CBDC is the end, and that ends to a digital coin, the digital currency. Yep. But FedNow, they're going to tell you on these commercials, and they're going to tell you if you look it up, that FedNow is not a digital currency. It is a convenient, amazing way to pay for things. Now, I don't know how you feel, how the viewers feel about Glenn Beck. This is not an endorsement of Glenn Beck. I like him, but I don't agree with everything he says. But I want to show you.
But this video, I watched most of it, and it is very good and informative. If anybody wants to go and watch the entire video,
and you'll see the name of the video, so you can search for it. But this name of this video is called "How the Fed's FedNow program Will End in CBDC, Central Bank Digital Currency."
It was always going there, right?
So I'm going to skip right to this little part. I'm going to play a little segment, not a lot of it, and then we're going to comment on it.
Last hour, I played these happy little commercials from the Federal Reserve about the FedNow. It's a new service for all of the banks, which will make the transfer of funds, whether you're out shopping or you're a business owner or you're doing bank-to-bank transactions, you just run everything through the Federal Reserve and it'll happen fast. And I thought,
isn't that exciting?
It's very exciting. Now they're claiming that this is the alternative to a CBDC, which is a central bank digital currency. Doesn't really sound so much like a alternative as much as a system to run that on.
Yeah, I mean, basically, this is like Jason Buttrell, your head researcher, because he and I are now best friends, and we exchange emails all the time. He's my best. He came up with this great analogy. This is like the drug dealer who's new on the block, and he's not just going to start injecting people with heroin. That's not how you sell lots of drugs. That's not how you do it. First, you get them hooked. You just give them a little taste. And then after they get a little taste, now they're hooked. Then you can start really pushing the hard stuff. That's what this is all about. Okay, the Federal Reserve.
It is. It's the gateway. It's gateway. It's a gateway drug.
Gateway drug.
It's a gateway drug. And now let me break it down, Sandy, and let's talk about this. This is what FedNow is. If you know what Cash App is, if you know what Venmo is, and everybody on here knows what that is. PayPal is one of them too, but Venmo and Cash App is a little different than PayPal. PayPal's trying to catch up, but you all know it, and many of you have used these apps, and basically, you sign something on Marketplace or something that you want to go buy, and you negotiate back and forth in your messages on your price, and then they agree, okay, yeah, I'll sell it for that. Usually, a lot of times, the response is in that negotiation, well, before I come, do you take Cash App? Do you take Venmo? Well, 75, 80% of the time that I bought something, people will say yes. Every once in a while, you'll get some old school folks that don't even know how to use the phone. They'll be like, I don't even know what that is. I need cash money. Well, I get it, okay? But it is extremely convenient to just walk up to somebody at their house. You're gonna buy a leaf blower, and you see that leaf blower, and they're selling it to you for $65. You don't have to worry about carrying $65 in your pocket. You don't have to worry about going to the ATM and getting $65. You just open it up and you say, what's your Cash App handle? And they'll tell you, and you just type it in there. You put $65 in it. You show it to them, and you say, "Is this it? Is this you?" Yeah. You press send. Boop. They get it on their phone. I've done it many times. They say, "Thank you very much." Shake your hand. You take the leaf blower home. Nobody ever exchanged money. So you've got Venmo, you've got Cash App, and all these others like this. Well, what FedNow is the federal government's version of that app. They're going to mandate to every FDIC, federal, what is that, Department Insurance or something, depositors?
Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation,
okay.
FDIC.
So if they're part of the FDIC insurance program to insure up to $250,000, is that right? People's deposits. Per account. Then they are going to be required, that bank, large and small, is going to be required to participate in the FedNow program, which is going to turn everyone, whether you want to have digital currency or not, your bank is going to be forced by the Federal Reserve Federal Reserve System.
Well, at the rate that they're falling, it'll be a lot easier because there won't be many left.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. So they're going to be told, look, even if this person does not want to use the FedNow app yet, you are going to digitize their money.
Which makes a lot more sense we fully expected them to save the larger banks as all banks across the board started having problems. But how much more convenient for them?
Yep.
When there's just a handful of large banks left by the time the dust settles, right?
That's right. That's exactly
Wow.
right. So what is FedNow? FedNow, when it's implemented, like I said, you heard it here first. You're going to see the commercials. They're going to be this guy. He's going to get this kid to come cut his grass, and he's like, "Will you cut my grass for me in the neighborhood?" Like we've always done. The kid's out there cutting grass. He's going to walk up to the front door, and he's going to say, "Hey, thank you so much for letting me cut your grass." And it's going to go something like this. He's going to take his phone out, and he's going to say, "Man, you did such a good job." The kid's going to take his phone out or take his watch out, and they're just going to go, boop. And then that Bluetooth technology is going to be tied directly to your bank. And here's how they're going to sell it. I've already watched several videos from the Federal Reserve, not people trying to tear it down, people that are pro FedNow. This is what they're going to say. Well, right now, when you use a Cash App or Venmo, it's got to go through a third party. It's got to navigate through all these different systems. And then you might get your money. You can draw your money into your account a couple of business days later. Well, with the FedNow program, Sandy, the person gets their money in their account within 5 seconds.
Of course.
So you're going to pay
lightning fast.
Lightning fast. You'll pay the kid
You
the money.
can't keep my call connected on my phone, but man alive, you sure can move my money. So Christian McCurry said, so is cash going to just go away? You better believe it.
Absolutely.
It's totally going to be gone away.
That's where it's going.
We can't tell you,
Right.
but we are working, inching step by step, phase by phase
Yep.
towards that goal.
Yep.
And why is that? So that they can completely control all money, your money.
Yep.
Your account will be programmable. If you're a bad boy, Christian McCurry,
Yep.
we're going to lock you
Yep.
down. You'll pull up to the gas tank
Yep.
and
Listen.
you won't be able to get gas.
Because your money's programmable. Do you understand what she's saying? The CBDC is programmable, meaning what Chaney's trying to say to you is that if you don't tote the line, if you are not a good, socially got a good credit score.
It is total. We were talking about the social report card 2 years ago.
Yep.
Chinese. I remember being on a Wednesday night Bible study here at this church, talking about it, about your scorecard. And people were like, what are you talking about?
Exactly.
And I'm like, this is what the Chinese people are having to deal with.
Yep.
Sadly, it's going to be coming our way.
Absolutely.
Because of what little bit of liberty we have left in our country, they can't just bring the hammer down in one fell swoop.
Right.
We have to step it up and bring it out phase by phase. It's coming.
It's the long game. And the FedNOW is the gateway.
Programmable and trackable. Everything you do, there will be no hiding anything. There will be no secrets.
I would be curious how many people watching right now that might want to comment in the live chat or in the comment below, how many would admit, you don't want to agree to the system, but you'd admit that honestly, you hardly ever carry cash anymore anyway. And you've already been, myself included, I'm saying I'm included, is that the concept of paying with cash is so foreign now to me. Now, it may not be to a lot of people that's on here.
We look at it as inconvenient.
Exactly.
That's just too inconvenient. Mm-mm.
And it's like, it's going to be sold this way too. It's like, if somebody steals your cash, you've lost your cash. But if somebody steals your digital currency, it's so encrypted and so perfectly tied, and eventually it will be tied to your biometrics that they will not be, because it's programmable, they will not be able to use and steal your money because your money is tied to your fingerprint or tied to your eye scan or tied to your handprint. And because of that, people try to, if they somehow could hack your money, they can't spend your money.
So we can see how end times and how so very prophetic this is, how this plays into the mark of the beast and the control system. I mean, we're feeling it now in these early stages.
Yeah. Well, the answer to the question is, where's cash going to go? Here's another example. This is coming out right now. Right now, there are companies developing reverse ATM machines. These are they're popping up at different places around the world.
I have to admit, this is the first that I've heard of this one.
This is crazy, y'all. Reverse ATMs that convert cash to cards are growing rapidly as the economy continues to shift towards a cashless society. He goes on to say, as more and more businesses and homes in the United States and around the world continue to shift towards a cashless economy, what are being called reverse ATMs are starting to explode across the country. A typical ATM, of course, dispenses physical tender based on the digitized amount of money kept in the bank. A reverse ATM does the opposite. Reserve ATM does the opposite. It allows customers to convert their paper cash into a digital asset in the form of a stored value card.
And these kids today, they just love that, right?
They love it.
We all love it, actually.
Exactly. While cash relatively still remains the prettiest girl at the dance around the world, digital transactions are not far behind most places, save only a handful of countries. The move towards more digital and contactless transactions are exacerbated by the YUAN war when businesses and public amenities refused cash and coin. You remember that? Wasn't that long ago they wouldn't take cash in coins because they was afraid there'd be a YUAN molecule on that.
Or remember the coin shortage?
Oh, yeah. We done forgot about the coin shortage. No coins we returned. Oh. There's a shortage of pennies and a shortage of dimes. That was all. We were so stupid that we read that stuff and thought, oh, my goodness, there's a coin shortage. No, there's not a coin shortage. They're
taking them out of circulation.
They're taking them out of circulation. Axios reports that reserve ATMs, aka cash-to-card kiosks, are becoming more widespread now that more businesses are trying to phase out physical cash.
I'm not going to believe it till I see it at the Walmart.
Yep, that's right. When Wally World has a reserve ATM, dude, I'm going to do a live show right there from Walmart.
Please.
I'm going to do it. Breaking.
I'll be your camera girl.
Breaking. The reverse ATM
We're
is
live
at
and on
Wally World.
location.
Handling cash is also a hassle for retailers with problems including theft and constant runs to bank. Do you see what is happening here? When a customer uses a card, the merchant bears the interchange fee charged by Visa and MasterCard just as they would any other card under those brands. So not only, let me read this. Amusement parks, casinos, and sports stadiums are the biggest proponents leading to the change, namely Hershey's Park, Six Flags, and other water parks, like airports, hotels, and universities, movie theaters, zoos, restaurants, and other stores implementing or at least considering adding these machines. These are not hypotheticals. They are in the process of being distributed right now because more and more businesses are saying we no longer take cash. So when you go in there, there's restaurants. I've watched videos of restaurants, people going in restaurants making videos going, hey, I tried to pay cash for my meal and they wouldn't take it.
They wouldn't accept it.
So now they're going to have an ATM over there saying, hey, we don't accept cash, but you can take that cash right over there and pay a fee.
Okay.
And get you a card and
Can
come
we
back and pay.
talk about maybe the elephant in the room? Okay, we know it's convenient and all this stuff and blah, blah, blah. How much does it play into the story that the owners, the managers of all these stores, restaurants, whatever, they have to worry about the employees taking off with the cash? And so, yeah, it's so much safer.
It makes sense
for the owner of the store.
Look, if you didn't read the Bible, if you didn't know what the Bible says coming, and you was just completely clueless of a beast system, you'd think, my God, this makes sense.
Yeah.
This is, it's cutting down on theft. It's cutting down on all kinds of stuff. It's, hey, when you can't just leave cash tip on the table anymore for somebody not to report.
It's so much work to send somebody with that bag to the bank. I mean,
it's horrible. How has people done it for 150 years?
Form of
I don't understand it.
Punishment.
Well, Sandy, we still got a great group of people on here that stayed with us. We've gone over the hour
King
mark.
Lon.
And you know what? Last week, people was blowing us up, telling us to go have a 2-hour show. I mean, they want to have 2 hours.
Well, keep praying because there's no shortage of news. It might happen.
Yeah. So, but, over an hour, they're still with us. Numbers are growing. If you hadn't smashed that like button, smash that like button. Help us. Oh, my goodness, we're already over 120 likes. Man, this is awesome.
Woo!
You guys are amazing. So we appreciate that because that's introducing us to people that don't. So let's go to this next story because this is just unreal because this is a sign of the economy that we're in now.
This just is heartbreaking.
This is heartbreaking. Shocking images show, this is, of course, shocking in California, San Francisco, a 2-mile-long vehicle encampment is what they're calling it, made up entirely of people living in RVs, trucks, and trailers, and some even in their cars. This is along Highway 101 north of San Francisco as low-income people are being pushed out of the house market. They cannot afford to live in a home anymore. So they take
They can't afford the rent, let alone a mortgage. I believe the average home is over $1 million
in San Francisco. $1 million.
What about your property taxes? What about trying to insure that home? What about everything that goes along with, being in a home, being maybe even in just an apartment?
Hundreds of locals in one of San Francisco's wealthiest counties have been forced to pack up their lives into RVs and trailers after being pushed out of the housing market. According to Daily Mail, shocking photos show the ever-growing line of trucks and other vehicles along 101 Highway, which now stretches over 2 miles and growing, into one of the largest encampments in the country. Cities in Marin County, where an average home costs $1.4 million, are pushing for the line across the highway to end after the number of residents living in their cars ballooned during the YUAN. Photos and video taken by DailyMail.com show families living in tents and using portable barbecues as their belongings spill out of their RVs and trucks. Some appear to have used flags to mark the area of the road that they use for their home, with many pulling tarpaulin over their cars to protect their possessions. And while you talk about this, Sandy, I'm just gonna play this drone footage that is just mind-boggling.
Well, let's point out, these are not drug addicts. These are not people that they're not responsible. These are husbands and wives. These are entire families. They just cannot afford the high cost of living.
That's unreal.
They just want to take care of their families and try to hold on to what few possessions that they have. Wow. They don't want to go to the street. They're not in the streets of San Francisco doing drugs. They're just trying to carve out some semblance of a life.
Unbelievable.
And this is what they've been pushed to.
This dude right here, he thought he was going to get oceanfront. He had to get the other side. He didn't even get waterfront. I'm not being funny, but it is. Think about this in the history of humanity. Where does people flock? They flock to the water. They built communities. The Egyptians, the ancient people, and all this. They all flock to the water,
right?
So because they can't even afford to have a place with running water. So the fact that they're all living on that water tells me that they're drinking that water. I mean, they have to have water to live. So they've parked their RVs.
They're probably at least washing their clothes, maybe bathing in it. Hopefully, they have clean,
maybe
pure
they
water
have
to
bottled
drink.
water or something like that. Yeah,
but
you're right.
Come on,
they're fishing, things like that.
This is one story. This is one area. How many places? How many times is this being repeated? Certainly in all over the world, but definitely in our country.
Yeah, let's go back to this article and read a little bit of it. It says officials say that there are at least 135 vehicles on the outskirts of Novato, as the number who call it home has expanded. The average household income in the county is $131,000. Well, in Alabama, that's rich, but not out there, because you got a 1.8 million, 1.4 million, something
1.4 for a home.
For a home, which has left those with lower incomes nowhere to turn. Residents of the surrounding areas are now coming together to try to help bring the encampment to an end by helping people find services they need. And then it goes, every month they're given free groceries, assistance with their housing case income, blah, blah, blah. And each city in Marion County received $500,000 to address their encampment issues, with the county bringing in $1 million in resources to help with other regions. So they're trying to help these people, but the line is not getting smaller. No. The line is getting longer.
Because guess what? More and more people are losing their jobs. Well, you can't stay in your home if you lose your job. Okay, there are shelters, but who wants to take their entire family to a shelter? Sometimes it's not awesome there. Sometimes you have to worry about what other people are doing and try to protect your wife or your children, even inside some shelters. Yeah. And people, they want to hold on to their freedom and their independence as long as they can. So this is what you're witnessing. Trying to hold on to the last semblance of my independence.
And then you think about California, Arizona, and Texas, and you think about what's happening at the border. And you already see people being laid off, companies being shut down, and you have low-income people, which is what this article is about, that cannot find work or cannot sustain themselves. And now you have, and we always try to preface this and say, just like when we talk about China, it's not against the Chinese people. No. And this is, I don't even fault anybody trying to better their life, but that's not what this is about. I mean, we've covered and we'll continue to cover.
Are we going to do the border story?
We're going to do the border story. But before we get into the border story, we want to remind you that we've covered here, and we will continue to cover, that a lot of these people that are coming across the border, they're not from South America. They're not even from Mexico. They're from China. They're from Russia. They're from Saudi Arabia. Many of them are on terrorist watch lists. But there has been this thing, by the way, what was the number that you sent me today that is, we know is even more than this, but there's at least enough people admitting how many people's already come across the border?
So I was listening to one of our local radio stations while I was doing a little work in the yard today. And this person said over the last 25 months.
Think about this.
They're admitting to.
This is what they're admitting
5 million people have crossed the border, and another 700,000 are approaching the border
right now,
planning to cross. 700,000 at one time in just a few days.
Because of Title 42. Is that what it's called?
Yes.
Title 42.
So they're trying to do this big surge, over 700,000 all at one time. But I told Larry, I said, if they're admitting to 5 million, I would be willing to bet the number is definitely actually higher than that.
So there might be some people on there that's going to push back and say, where is your compassion? Where is your Christianity? Do you not care for these 5 million people? 5 million, 10 million, doesn't matter. These are families, all this. I get it.
Of course we do. Of course we do.
Yeah.
But when our resources are dwindling here, when people are losing their jobs at a staggering rate, how can we possibly take care of millions and millions more people?
And do you know what? If you don't have a border, you don't have a country. I mean, there's just North America's just one big country then. There's no border. Well, there is a border. One's called Canada, one's called Mexico, one's called America. And we've sent billions of dollars to Ukraine to defend their border. But between their border, protecting their country. So and we do that all over the world. But in addition to people crossing this border that are being sent from countries all over the world that are just finding this is just
over
an open
100 individual countries.
Yeah, and when you look at the masses that are lined up, 75 to 80% of them are adult grown men.
They are.
It is not women and children. It is single, not just daddies. I'm talking about they ain't got nobody with them. There are single adult men. The estimated number, 75 to 80% of them.
There's no, unless there is a secret form of tracking, we supposedly don't know where a lot of them end up. And the tragedy is the children.
Yeah.
We are releasing children in cities all over this country.
By themselves.
And they are many believed to be trafficked.
Yes.
Trafficked.
Yes.
We are helping children be trafficked inside our own country. God is going to bring judgment on this country.
Yeah, that's right.
He's not going to stand for that.
No, he's not. And I read the other day, and I'm afraid to say the number because I know I butchered the number, but it was something like this, that the Biden administration has lost track of tens of thousands of children.
Yeah, of course they have.
Lost track of the children.
Because
not
they're
of the families,
taking
children.
them to cities and releasing them. Some of them are coming across the border by themselves.
We was talking about the FedNOW app a while ago. Well, I'm going to show you something in this next article that some of you may not know about. The Homeland Security Department of our country that was formed out of 9/11, and we could talk about that on another show of the freedom and liberties that we gave up with that act. But they have developed an app that they distribute on the phones south of the border. That is a Homeland Security app that tells them the best places to cross and to help them be facilitated into the country. This is a fact. This is not conspiracy theory, it's a fact. Well, when Title 42, which was implemented during the YUAN, which was supposed to sort of put a buffer on the massive number of people because they, wanted to be checked and all that, which never really was anything anyway. 5 million people being admitted that's come through while that act has been in place. Right. And then, of course, like you were saying, all these tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands lined up, ready to storm it as soon as that thing drops, that Title 42, which I think drops like in a week.
Yeah, soon. It's in days.
In days.
That's for sure.
So the Republican House, and I think might even have a chance of it even passing the Senate, has passed a bill for border security. Well, whether you're a Republican, Democrat, or whatever, I want you to see this article. President Joe Biden, has threatened to veto the Republican border reform. Now, I want you to see this picture here. This is an actual picture that was just released like within the last few days of a bridge system in Mexico of the people lined up trying to get across the border. This is a legit picture. President Joe Biden said he will veto the Republicans' flagship border reform bill because it reduces, look why he is vetoing it, because it reduces the federal government's ability to extract economic migrants from poor countries, according to White House statement. The pending GOP border protection bill is a huge deal, said Rosemary Jinks, a government relations director at Numbers USA. Quote, this is a GOP blueprint for 2025, talking about presidential election, if and beyond. If a Republican is elected to the White House, she added. The White House's May 8th veto threat said, the bill, this is why they're saying they're against it, the bill would cut off nearly all access for migrants to humanitarian protections in ways that are inconsistent with our nation's values and international obligations. That's what they're saying is this will limit illegal immigrants crossing the country into the border. That's all that said. In addition, this is the White House saying why they're going to veto it. The bill would make processing less efficient by prohibiting the use of the CBDC mobile application. That's the app I'm talking about, to process non-citizens and restricting the Department of Homeland Security's parole authority such that successful programs like Uniting for Ukraine would be prohibited. The bill would also reduce authorized funding for essential programs, including the Shelter and Services Program that provides critical source of migrant support funds for state and local governments and reduces pressure on the border by quickly moving migrants northwards. That money that we're talking about there is money to put them in hotels, money to buy out. You realize our government has bought out entire hotels and filled the entire hotel. U.S. citizens can't get a room there because every room is filled with migrants. The nation's values statement refers to blah, blah, blah. And then of course, this is the governor of Texas making a statement that this is a disaster. And I'll make this statement, then we'll comment on it. The White House's statement comes as the administration is opening the southern border to a huge flood of job-seeking migrants. The Biden administration is also welcoming a new wave of 100,000 H-1B visa workers and 450,000 OPT workers via the fraud-ridden programs, despite mass layoffs of Americans by Fortune 500 companies. This is happening right now.
Yes.
It's unreal. It's unreal that this is happening while our economy is tanking.
Yes.
And all you got to do, look, the same day that the administration plans to lift the Title 42 border barrier, why not just at the very least, it ain't really working that great, but keep that in place. You know what they did this week, Sandy? It came out that the United States government, the administration, was sending like 1,200 armed personnel from the National Guard to the border. And it was spun in a way that, they're taking the stands, they're getting ready because they know this surge is coming.
But what actually happened?
Do you know what actually happened? What it's about?
I don't know completely. I can't wait to hear this.
It was revealed that the government military officials that are being sent to the border are not there to protect the border. They are going to be mandated by the commander-in-chief to help in the processing.
Well, I'm just going to tell you this. If I were at the border and I saw a surge of thousands and hundreds of thousands of people coming towards me, I'm sorry. I'm out of there because it's just going to be so overwhelming. If you don't get out of the way, you're going to get trampled. So they're being sent to help them, to help make it a smoother process to get across there.
But that wasn't what was spun. Everybody was like, look at what they're doing.
Right.
That is not why they were sent there. It was revealed they were sent there for processing. They were not there to protect the border.
You know what? Where's the compassion?
Yeah.
They're going to cut the cell phones and the cards and the hotel rooms off at some point. Where is that going to leave these millions of people if they've not been able to get a job somehow or find some kind of placement? What are they supposed to do? What does that look like on the streets? What does that look like in the neighborhoods when people are walking around? They're hungry, and quite frankly, they're probably going to be angry.
Absolutely. And, it's not going to get any better. And so Sandy, we got one more thing that we always got to talk about. That I think everybody sort of expects us to talk about because, in my opinion, all these things, they all end and they're all carried out by one thing.
Something has to be powering this.
Something has to be powering this. Yeah. Something has to be powering everything. Yeah. And of course, we know that's technology.
There's got to be that infrastructure behind when you're trying to have this much control over people and this many things. There has to be some powerful structure behind it. Yes, it's time for our AI segment.
It's time for the AI. We're gonna have a cool thing. Time for AI. Yes. And I'm gonna go into a robot voice, and it's gonna be time for AI report with Larry and Sandy.
Oh, that's so lame.
Did that sound like a robot?
It sounded horrible. It'll be way better than that if we do anything.
This is what I'll do for the segment. When we're doing serious news, then all of a sudden I'll go.
Stop. Okay. Do we have a commercial coming up or something?
It's time for the AI update. OpenAI, which is the owner of ChatGPT, and Figure, which is another company that makes robots, are developing terrifyingly creepy humanoid robots.
Of course.
Once again, for the workforce. It seems like everything is being done to take jobs away. Mm-hmm. And they ask the question, will our clever creation soon take over? Well, I think the answer to that question is yes. And they say, do you ever find yourself glued to the screen watching a movie like Terminator? I'll be back. Or Westworld, don't even really know what that is, and think, phew, good thing it's just fiction. Well,
it's not fiction. It's predictive programming.
It's predictive programming. It's not fiction. It's preparing you for it to be your real life. Because movies like this are getting closer to becoming a reality with each passing day. Let me introduce you to a breakthrough that's happening in the real world, which is both exciting and slightly unsettling. I would say very unsettling and maybe just a little bit exciting. It's a fascinating development that might make you wonder if the line between humans and machines are starting to blur. You think? Just like in these movies that we love. The best-known humanoid to date has been Atlas, by Boston Dynamics. Oh, yes. Not sure how much we love it now that it's becoming a reality. Now, what's this saying? This is crazy. Mm-hmm. What is OpenAI's humanoid robot? OpenAI that owns ChatGPT, the cutting-edge artificial intelligence research organization behind the almighty and extremely popular ChatGPT, has made a chilling breakthrough with its latest project. In a partnership with robotics company Figure, the two tech powerhouses have joined forces to create an extremely creepy robot that might one day do all your chores for you. This was the simulation.
Right before it kills you.
Right before it kills you. Imagine a world where
the house is clean.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, what the Jetsons was also programming, but it ain't going to be sweet. Was that little maid woman that used to fly in? She'd fly in, she'd say, "Would you like some coffee?" That's not what's coming. Okay, that's not okay. iRobot's what's coming. Watch that movie.
There you go.
Imagine a world where robots can learn complex tasks, I can't even talk, by observing humans. A bit eerie, right? Blah, blah, blah. Well, how does the bot work, Sandy? The magic behind the OpenAI Figure robot lies in its ability to analyze data. Watch this. Mm-hmm. The ability of the AI to analyze data from motion capture systems.
And they're learning from you.
So what is motion capture systems? Your cameras in your house, your cameras in your businesses. So they're feeding these camera data.
You mean that camera in your television and that camera in your Nest thermostat? It's a learning thermostat. It's learning, folks. It's a learning how you live.
Think about it. They call it learning. What is it learning?
They didn't lie. It was learning.
What is it learning? It's learning your habits. By the way, your little iRobot thing that we love very much in our house.
Do not talk about Jarvis.
And she's named it Jarvis. And what's the other one's name?
Blackie.
Blackie, because it's black. So, but Jarvis is named after Iron Man, Jarvis. Mm-hmm. But so there's these little digital robot things going around our house, cleaning our house. Well, Thankfully, we got the old version so that we think we have the old version. They're not Wi-Fi compatible. But these that are Wi-Fi compatible, do you know what they're doing? They're mapping your house.
Oh, yes.
They're learning where your furniture is so that they'll know not to go there next time. So they're always learning all this stuff. Well, it says the magic behind this figure robot, OpenAI, lies in its ability to analyze data from motion capture systems. Yep. These systems record human movements and convert them into digital data. The brain within the bot then uses the data to teach itself to perform the same task, to mimic human interaction. It's like the robots are learning by watching us. Don't worry, it's not all doom and gloom, of course. They say the groundbreaking technology can potentially revolutionize industries like manufacturing, construction, and even healthcare. Imagine robots assisting in surgeries or helping build skyscrapers, all while minimizing human error. And, of course, they ask the question, should we be worried? Would you like to answer that question?
Yes.
Yes.
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
Be very afraid. So I saw one video that I thought was in that article, but it's not in that article, where you might have seen it, where the robot goes over and picks up the piece of wood that's been cut in construction, picks it up by itself, walks over, and puts the piece of wood in place. And it's demonstrating that there's already robots on their own that can build things construction-wise with their hands because they watched videos of actual construction workers building things, and now they're able to mimic that.
It's amazing that they're getting this kind of dexterity. So a couple questions. Number one, how much longer until humans are really not necessary? Like,
right.
Seems like we're heading that way right now.
Yep.
But this company, Boston Dynamic, it's probably been about 3 years ago, they introduced the robot dog, which was scary enough to me. But recently I've been watching a couple episodes of an old show called Fringe.
Oh, wow.
And there's a lot of weird things in this show, and it's chock full of predictive programming. But in this show, it's actually based in Boston. And the big evil corporation with all the mad scientists is actually called Massive Dynamic.
Well, how convenient.
How cool is that?
I mean, that's a definite play. That is so definite a play.
Oh, my goodness. Is so playing on that. But there's no shortage of stories on AI, and there's no limit to what they're going to do.
Well, I don't know if it's good news or bad news, but I got one more. And this one really applies to us because, for those that don't know us, we're preachers of the gospel, because our good old friend Yuval Noah
Harari.
I don't want to know his name. I don't want to mess his name up every time I say it. I want to call him Yuval.
Just ask Siri. She'll probably know.
Hey, don't say that. Siri's listening right now. I do not want to know, Siri.
My phone didn't turn on when I said
Get out of my life. Leave me alone. No, I don't want to buy anything called Noah Harari now on Facebook Marketplace. But
no, you want his book.
No.
Order Sapiens. No.
Sapiens. So our friend, our World Economic Forum mad scientist, Yuval Noah Harari, has, Sandy, he cares for us. He's warned us.
He loves you.
He loves us, and he's
such devotion.
He is looking out for us because here's a very interesting article that we'll wrap up tonight with. Yuval Noah Harari has warned us of something that no one has really thought about, but I think it really makes sense. The world, this is his words, the world is on the verge of a new religion created by artificial intelligence, the historian Yuval Noah Harari has claimed.
The great wise one.
The great wise one. But I think sometimes he's really telling us the truth. I really do, even though he's evil. Yeah. The academic, known for his best-selling book, Sapiens, said software such as ChatGPT could attract worshipers. Where have I learned about a world worshiping an image of something? We'll go back to that. By the way, join me on Wednesday night at 7 p.m. and you'll learn all about what I'm talking about. Said such software such as ChatGPT could attract worshipers by writing its own sacred texts. Speaking at a science conference, he said AI had crossed a new frontier by, quote, gaining mastery, unquote, of our language. Remember, we talked a few weeks ago about it taught itself another language.
Yes. They didn't want the humans knowing what they were saying or doing.
So it created its own language, but it also taught itself other people's language. Like they could learn how to speak French, and nobody ever programmed French into them. They just learned French. Okay. It's okay. So gaining mastery of our language, and of course created their own language that nobody can understand, is now capable of using it to shape human culture. Dr. Harari used the event to add his voice to growing calls for urgent regulation over the sector, which experts have warned is amid to a dangerous arms race. He said, quote, in the future, we might see the first cults and religions in history whose revered texts were written by a non-human intelligence, and there he is. And he says, of course, he wants to take a shot at religions. Yeah. Religions throughout history claim that their holy books were written by unknown human intelligence, meaning the Holy Spirit is what he's taking a shot at, or their whatever. And he says this was never true before on this level. And, there he is, just talking about what we just talked about. But so Sandy, he's letting us know, and what everyone needs to remember. And if you don't know this, let me help you know this. Let me help you know what. There is an ancient text that was not written by AI. It was not even inspired by artificial intelligence.
Come on.
But it was inspired by supernatural intelligence, which is the power of the Holy Spirit. Yes. And the Holy Spirit moved upon man, and they wrote the Holy Word of God, which is 66 books. Well, in the very last book of that Bible, I'm teaching it verse by verse on Wednesday night. Throw it up here, shameless plug. Every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. standard, right here on the same channel. Yeah. I'm teaching verse by verse the book of Revelation. And in the book of Revelation, it talks about a beast system. Look, I want you to think about all that we've talked about tonight. And then I want you to think about what I'm about to say. The beast system that will bring forth what is known as the Antichrist has something called the mark of the beast that is tied to a one-world global religion, tied to a one-world government, united government, like United Nations, whatever, World Economic Forum, united government, and a united currency of which the system to distribute that currency is biometric at the very least on your hand or your forehead. And it says in the Bible, it will be programmable because no one will be able to buy or sell unless they've been approved by the system.
I'm sorry, sir, but are you trying to say that we're going to have one world currency, one world government, and one world religion?
What in the world? You got a pretty great British accent.
Who's that?
Miriam.
But seriously.
Miriam, let me know in the comments. Tell us, Miriam lives in the UK. How did she do?
But in all seriousness, that's what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying.
One world currency, one world government, and a one world religion.
And one more thing. The Bible says the false prophet who will be the one to promote the Antichrist will create an image or a statue of the Antichrist that's not real,
but is going to
cause it to speak. And it will be so realistic, this is in your Bible, that it will be the catalyst that will cause everyone to bow down and worship the beast. It sounds to me like programmable digital currency. It sounds to me like a global government is being formed right before our eyes. It sounds to me like there's a system being put in place to tell you what you can buy and what you can't buy. And now it seems like there is intelligence coming forth and this deep fake technology. Have you seen that? Where people can make something look like Biden or Trump and not just a picture, an entire video that looks so real. It's getting so good, you're not going to be able to know what's real and what's not real.
It's scary now.
And that's all in the Bible.
Yes.
Every bit of it.
Yep.
That's mind-boggling to me. That it is, the Bible has survived every regime, every attack, every single whatever. And here we are in 2023 when people says, if you believe in that book, you are an idiot, you believe in the nursery rhyme. But hey, prove me wrong.
Come on.
Because everything that it says is going to happen, we cover every Monday night.
Yep. Crazy, right?
And we don't make it up. All we do is show you the articles.
Yeah, we're just reading the news.
We're just reading the news. That's all we do.
When we can get through it.
When we can get through it.
But I'm not about to throw my guts up.
Nope. We're going to go home and we're going to take another shower because we got to get all this mess off of us.
I need one.
We're going to do a cleansing prayer. We're going to cleanse ourselves of any kind of spirits that try to get on us. But before we do any of that, you know what we're going to do? What we love to do. When we go off the air, we're going to go back and read every single comment from that live chat because we don't get to see it while we're doing this. She gets to see it every once in a while. I never get to see it. But I go back and read it out loud, y'all. We have so much fun. We laugh. There are times we're laughing so hard at you guys because you guys are amazing. All the super chats, all the super thanks, Sandy, they are such a blessing to us.
Yes, we love it. If you see me looking up like this, I'm trying to get a peek at the chat while we're talking. So,
and to all our partners that are so faithful, and if you're looking at the live chat and you see those little different colored badges and all that, that's because these guys and these ladies and these gentlemen are our partners. They support us $5 a month, and they just let us know that they love us and we love them. And as I said earlier, what's his name again?
Alex Jones.
Alex Jones. I can't even remember his name. That is not Alex Jones. Everybody that's seen this picture thinks that's Alex Jones. That's actually me.
Listen, if you were trying to sell some herbal supplements and stuff like that, you could be a dead ringer.
Okay. I don't even know what he says, what his mantras are or anything.
I'm not sure. I know he sells vitamins.
But that's Larry Ragland. That's me. And that is just trying to tell you that, we're live tonight, I think, and I think people will let me know. I think we're live tonight on Rumble. So if you don't follow us on Rumble, rumble.com/user/ not loser. Don't go to /loser. Rumble.com/user/Larry Ragland. Follow us there and hit that like button, subscribe, become a partner. More than anything, share this. Let people know. Join us because we have fun here. Do we not have fun?
Yeah.
This is fun. Y'all have fun. We love reading that live chat. But so Wednesday night Bible study, then next Monday night. And I got some other shows that I'm working on right now that you're going to see random, and you're going to see some live updates. So if you hadn't already enabled that notification bell, here's how YouTube is sneaky. You hit the subscribe, and then you'll see notification bell come up. If you don't go back again, I had to find this out the hard way, and change it to all notifications. Do you know what it defaults to? It defaults to let YouTube decide. It literally says, let YouTube notify you what you want.
No.
And they're never going to send this to you because they don't want you to hear this. So make sure that you enable all notifications.
They're not a fan.
They're not a fan. No, they're not a fan. But you know what? I don't care. I don't care, YouTube. Nah. I'm going to say what I want to say. Sandy, any closing thoughts you want to say to everybody out there?
Woo, we made it through it. We made it through another week. Hallelujah. No, I'm so thankful for each and every one of you being here with us.
Yes.
I feel like, we're sitting here, but I feel like we're all doing this together. So as hard as this may be some weeks, I know you guys are out there. You're with us. You're feeling it too.
Yep.
And you are helping us get through this.
Yep. Well, we almost made a 2-hour show tonight.
What?
Hour and 45 minutes.
Man.
There'll be one night that we'll hit it. And look, they're still with us. They're still with us.
Awesome.
And 147 likes. Let's get that to 150 before I go off the air. Before I get off the air, 150 likes. I need 3 more people to smash that like button. I sound like can I give me one, let me get one. Yeah, I got 147. Can I get 140? I also got 148. Got 148. Can I get 149? Can I get 149? Who's going to be 149? Going once, going twice, going. Anybody in the back? Anybody?
152.
It just blew up. It went over 152. That is awesome. All right, we love you. Have a good night.
You didn't say it.
Go. I wasn't through. I was going to say, have a good night. Get a cup of coffee and calm down. Spend time with your family. Go watch something positive. Go look at a flower. Play with your dog. Don't let this be the last thing that happens before you go to sleep. Yeah. Do something
Go
positive.
get a bowl of ice cream. Maybe that'll help.
Maybe that'll help. But on this show, baby, what do we always remind them? That no matter what it is, let me flip you around real quick. I'm going to flip you around real quick so everybody, we can say it together. Here we go. Because, wait a minute, hold up, I got to do this, then I got to do this, I can do this, boom, all right.
Okay,
because no matter what it is, no matter what you're watching, we always remind you at the big picture, we ain't woke, but we are certainly awake. God bless y'all. Have a good night.